We cannot live like we lived before. And that is understandable for everybody, both in the society, in the wide civil society, and in the leaders of the country. Therefore, the motivation is very simple. Ukraine has to become more civilized in terms of the business climate, more developed compared to what we have now. Therefore, the president immediately after he entered his office, he established the Committee for Economic Reforms. He asked for preparation together with the civil society, a broad reform agenda, and he established the institutional mechanism, which is called the Committee for Economic Reform, which is monitoring how things are going on, which sets the tasks also for the executive power, and tries to involve the civil society members and international organizations in the discussions on the proceeds. There are several things. First and most important is fiscal sustainability and macroeconomic development. Fiscal consolidation, that was one of the most important tasks which should have been performed during the last 2 years. And I think we have a success in this respect, considerable success. The second part, of course, concerns the business climate. It encompasses a lot of directions. First, it's mass deregulation, lowering the entry and exit barriers for doing business in Ukraine, and there is a considerable step forward in this respect. Second direction within the deregulation, in a broader sense, is perfection of the tax legislation, and a new tax code which was adopted a year ago, and some perfections afterward is one of the representative sort of sample. Here also comes the custom legislation. We adopted custom code just 2 weeks ago. That will improve considerably the transparency of custom rules. In the deregulation, we also put as a special point administrative reform and the reform of administrative services. It concerns almost all the population of Ukraine, including the visitors who are trying to take some administrative services, starting from registering a vehicle, for example, going on with obtaining different kind of passports or permit residence. All that is called administrative service. And first of all, it was intransparent, very long, highly priced, while the money which were obtained by different agencies even did not go to the budget. So a very comprehensive law which sets strict rules how the administrative services are produced is now in the parliament, is already half adopted after the first reading. So that is one of the largest part. The next part is agricultural reform, and the strive for opening the agricultural market land. Agricultural land market is one of the main directions in this respect. Then there is a huge part on the energy sector, where the tasks like continuation of the privatization in the energy sector, setting transparent rules for natural monopolies, providing a possibility for restructuring of the natural monopoly structures like NAK Naftogaz, like Ukrzaliznytsia. That is also enshrined in the program. There is a large, substantial part which is devoted to the social reforms. First of all, it's the social benefit system, making it more targeted one, reducing the benefits for those who does not need it, and for highly ranked state bureaucrats, and improving the situation concerning the monetization of all the social benefits which will remain after sort of significant cuts. Here also comes the reform of education. Ukraine has to reform its higher education on the university level, making universities more autonomous, both in financial contents and in terms of providing educational services. So here, one of the major law is now considered by the government, the law on the higher education. And another part in the social reforms is in fact healthcare reform, which encompasses changes of the net of all the hospitals and other medical establishments, and changing the major principles of financing. I think the course of reforms will not be affected very much, because the set of goals is already in the program of reforms signed by the president and taken into action by the executive body of power. However, the pace of reforms, of course, might be affected. It's absolutely clear that in the pre-electoral period, it's very difficult to implement politically sensitive and especially socially sensitive initiatives. For example, a bit more than half a year ago, we adopted the law on the reform of the pension system, which was highly unpopular. It's difficult to imagine that more severe steps in these directions will be undertaken before the elections. My hope is that the new agreement will be secured. When and how, it's very difficult to predict. What is absolutely clear, the present agreement with Russia is economically unjustified and not fair, because it turns Ukraine into the country which buys the gas with a much higher price than even the Western European partners, and the mandatory volume which Ukraine has to buy every year is too high compared to the needs. So this agreement should be reconsidered. However, the pace of reconsideration, of course, depends on the partners. This vision looks like the following. We need a lot of partners, international partners, with whom we can work on different issues. And this strategic partnership should go further and deepen without going into a contradiction with a strategic partnership with the other side. For example, at the moment, Ukraine has a very good relationship on the strategical terms with respect, for example, cooperation in the energy sector with US. It concerns the nuclear power issues. Does it come into the contradiction with a strategic partnership on the same thing with Russia? From my point of view, not. Because here a lot of interest could be combined and they could be made into the decisions which are acceptable for all the parties. The same concerns our deepening economic relationship, for example, with the Asian countries like China. Will it contradict our European vector? Definitely not, because new investment projects, if they will be undertaken with the Chinese business, will be very beneficial for Ukraine and for China, and definitely they will not hurt the interests of any other trade partner. The most important thing is, while making agreements, of course, one could carefully check that the balance of interest is preserved. First of all, it's the interest of your country, and it is the interest of not violating already signed international cooperation agreements like WTO or whatever else. And I think that is the most important way of dealing with the issues. Multiplicity of partners, the cooperation with each of them, either in a very wide sphere and quantity of different areas, or on a selected basis, where both partners feel most appropriate. I hope that the overall picture and enthusiasm with which Ukrainian people are waiting for this European Championship will be felt by the foreign visitors and will probably produce a new outlook on Ukraine as a country not only with a huge potential, but with the huge possibilities which could be exploited and used already now. So that is our aspirations, and we're also looking forward to invite a lot of guests during this championship.